Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker.
And Justin Griffith with Keller Williams Indy Metro Northeast.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back. And he's just telling us he wore socks to go to sleep last night because it drops your core temperature and you fall asleep quicker. And
it worked.
It worked.
It worked. I was deadly tired last night too, but it absolutely helped. So
there's
one or the other.
So much weird stuff that I want to try. Like my son uses a weighted blanket, and I've put it on before, and I was like, this is kind of awesome. And then there's like the grounded blankets. Like I'm not sure about that, but I'll give anything a try.
The weighted blankets, I tried one too because my whole family thinks they're wonderful. I hated it because all night long I felt like I was just fighting shit. I'm like trying to roll over, and it's so heavy, and I'm like, by the time I woke up.
That's why I got a 5-pound one.
So I have my son's is heavy, and so what I liked about it is I toss and turn a lot, and I just sat there in a cocoon. I didn't move at all. I was just
that didn't work for me.
I'm buried alive.
Yeah.
So, but it gave you a sense of comfort too. It was super odd.
It's like being swaddled as a baby or something.
Yeah. My wife has bought some of those fancy pillows, and my wife says I'm an aggressive sleeper. So I burn through pillows. You know what I mean? Because I'm just they lose their fluff rapidly with me, and so she bought me this fancy one. I was like, I don't even know how to use this. This is too complicated of a pillow.
Where do I put my arm at?
It's a whole thing. Anyway, but outside of that, so one of the things, we just love Justin to death, but we wanted to have him on, and so Justin does do a lot in the commercial world, and so one of the things that we were talking about before we started is, and this is not political at all. We're not getting into that. What we're getting into is how things happen and how it impacts our industry, right? And so one of the things you were talking about is how the tariffs, even though, I'm pretty up to date on it, but I know the tariffs were rolled out, but then they were rolled back, and they don't go into effect, I believe, until April 2nd or something of that nature. But people are anticipatory of them, and it is impacting the housing industry, and not just housing, but also the commercial industry and people who have projects and all these other things. And not just that prices are going up, but that maybe things aren't even projects are just dying on the table altogether. Right?
Yeah, what was cool is just the stuff you were saying. Again, we both try to stay up on what's going on, but I really had no idea. So kind of explain what you're seeing yourself personally with your business and everything else.
We had a project that was slated to start in a couple of months that has been scratched right now, strictly because of completely scratched. Unless there's some kind of miracle thing to where someone wants to come in and do it with us, but it's the commercial space. It's not penciling out. So before you buy the materials, before you put all your money in the planning. And now you realize that, hey, that 20% profit that you thought you had is completely gone or potentially gone. And you can't plan ahead by buying materials now when you don't know what's going to happen. So a lot of these builders and commercial developers are holding back on anything that's not already been spent.
Wow.
And I've even heard, too, of a really big company here in town that was slated to do a couple groundbreakings, and they have pulled back completely. They're looking strictly for existing properties that they could add value to.
Yep. Because, there's just so much cost that goes into this. And so we were talking about, obviously steel. When you're talking about, so the goal, I understand the goal behind it. The goal is for us to then purchase domestic, right? Well, unfortunately, in our current situation, cost is cheaper if it's imported.
Absolutely.
That's the thing, right? And so as you do have to understand, people do run businesses, right? And so there has to be a profit margin for you to even do something. And so it's not there. And so when steel goes up, and then the thing we were also talking about is, drywall. China is the biggest importer of drywall because you use gypsum to create it, and gypsum is, mainly comes from China. I have a buddy back in his dad, who was a large builder, back in I can't remember the last time there was a major issue with this. He bought an entire freight liner of gypsum and just held it and then sold it because he printed money off of it just because he bought it. It came from somewhere else or whatever it was, and you couldn't get it, and so he was just able to sell it literally off of the ship.
That sounds like toilet paper.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't go through that again.
Yeah, no kidding. I'd really just buy a bidet at this point. But
yeah, so hoarding materials, I don't know where you store something like that.
Well, then the weirder part about it is because it doesn't even, like right now it's about cost, but in 6 months, a year, it becomes about availability. And then people are just willing to pay to complete things because they have things that aren't completed. And so cost goes up based off of demand. And then all of a sudden we will start to get inflated prices on materials that are kind of just made up numbers based on like, I need it, right? And so like, and then where does that end? And then as we all know, like it will plateau and come back down a little bit, but it will become a new baseline of an inflated number off of nothing, right? That happened with COVID, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then not being here when we're trying, like you said, everybody's on hold. When is the day or the week or even like that timeline of 6 months that everybody comes back online? Because there won't be, and that's what we had in 2020 was a shortage of everything.
You remember what like a sheet of plywood cost back in 2020?
God.
It was like triple, right? Or-
Yeah. It was like 80 to 110 bucks.
And they
or
haven't
something
really
like that.
gone down either,
Plywood's gone down quite a bit, but it's still
not
above
to where it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not to where it was. So one of the conversations I saw at a meeting I was at was talking about the ordinances that we have against any new neighborhood that's going on, that the cities step in and set ordinances of how the facade needs to look, what the architectural design needs to be. And there's some couple of ones that were going online that they said they're going up about 35% in cost with that, and with the tariffs, that these neighborhoods they thought they would be in one price point are now in a different price point, not to their problem, what they caused. It was what they're dealing with on the exterior that are being forced upon them. So where will we be in our housing costs? Are they going to start really going up? The ones online now?
So I think costs will go up, and like especially like North Side or like let's call it like Center Grove, Bargersville. Like I think costs will go up there, but I do think this will create more growth in some of the areas that need growth because there will always be a need for affordable housing. And so I do think that there will be more development out in the Greenfield area, which is blowing up exponentially. Sheridan, which is like really kind of taken hold over the past couple of years, I think it will see a bunch of growth, right? And I mean, you can get USDA loans up there. Whitestown, out past Lebanon.
Are they still doing
Pittsburgh.
the USDA loans, or I didn't know if that was one of the things that got pulled back yet or not.
No, I mean I did.
It's hard to find out. I remember right near Deer Creek. What is it called now? Not even Ruoff, isn't it something else? Anyway,
Ruoff?
Yeah,
out
Ruoff.
there, all of the deer path and everything, that was USDA.
Yeah.
All of that, like this is central Indiana, right in the thick of the city now.
Yep.
But last year I did 2 in Sheridan that were by the high school, DR Horton Community. So it was a rate buy down, and it was USDA.
Wow.
That's
New
awesome.
construction USDA. It was amazing. But how long does that last? Does that start to get up into the Tipton area, the Elwood area, Anderson area? We've talked about like those areas will be developed eventually because it'll become commuter cities for Indianapolis. Will this help be a catalyst for that? I don't know. I mean, I can't project that by no means, but I don't know. I think it will have to happen because I think it will become affordable, and you need affordable housing. And it's like, well, I can save $100,000 and drive an extra 15 minutes. Like, okay, sign me up,
Well, and it's funny about that. You're talking Sheridan and Lebanon. I used to travel to see my grandmother through those towns, and that was in the boondocks. So, like, it was forever to get just through there, and now they're a suburb.
Yep.
Oh, dude. I moved to McCordsville a decade ago, right? And
Cornfields everywhere. Around
dude,
here.
it was nothing. And we literally moved there because we were like, wait a second, same house is just south of 96th Street, and it's 100 G's cheaper because we were going to build the same house in Noblesville. And they're like, well, you could do this. And I was like same nails and everything. It was like before I did real estate. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, like, why wouldn't I do that? And so, but now, I mean, it's, that neighborhood is like exceeded what we would have purchased for in Noblesville because it has grown so much. So it's going to be one of those things like Tipton's amazing. Like it has the county fair stuff there. It's got the little like ice cream shop. Same with like Sheridan.
Don't they have the Earth Festival? Is that Tipton?
Well, they celebrate the dirt. I don't know.
Used to be. Well, I used to go to it, but
I'm
I
from
think it's Tipton.
southern south side.
Well,
of
I'm
Indy,
just
not
saying
north
they
side.
had a really cool thing called the Earth Festival. Anybody ever been there or can tell me?
That's all right. 'Cause
Tipton had it.
Shelly's a country girl.
Hey, I grew up on a farm.
I know, that's why I said it. I mean it like
It's really true. Don't
so
get
I
me
don't know,
talking
like,
weird.
is that what starts happening? You know, like Danville is a great area.
Yeah,
and it has
that's
seen
so
some
far
growth.
away. I used to go to the little
but it's
the
really
restaurant,
not.
Andy Griffith restaurant.
Yeah. But it's really not that far away.
It's just crazy to think of that though, because you're from Indianapolis, those were just so far away, and I
Oh,
grew,
yeah, it's
I
like
grew up here.
Another
And,
state almost. It felt like
Yeah.
driving there.
yeah, that was on the way to Illinois.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Martinsville, right? And so my dad drove an hour to work, every hour to work and an hour back. You know, worked at the federal government building downtown. I mean, that's like a 35-minute drive these days, right? But so I see a lot of development out in Mooresville, right? Because Canby had Heartland, and then it kind of just, that area kind of took hold, and Plainfield and everything. But like, there's massive developments with like D.R. Horton and these other builders in Monrovia. And Monrovia was like,
I think that interstate has helped out a lot. Like once
ton.
they built
Oh,
that,
yeah.
it's like sped up so much that little
Growth down
section
there.
right there and all those stoplights.
Well, Bargersville's one that I just how fast that grew, because that was on the way to Sweetwater, that you just all these towns were just a pass through.
Yeah.
You didn't stop.
I never, like, Bargersville was never a thing when I was growing up. As somebody who like lived in Martinsville, went to Greenwood like every weekend because that was like the only place to do anything. Like, I knew about Waverly because of the Waverly Inn and the catfish, and like Bargersville wasn't even a thing. And now Bargersville is like $1.5 million houses. Like
and they got roundabouts.
and they have roundabouts.
Whoa!
I was
Yeah.
driving, I was like, oh my god, like, they've stepped it up.
Yeah, it's beautiful down there. I mean, it's just,
It is pretty. It's in the country to me. That's what Bargersville was, and it's become. But
because you get the best of both worlds, right? Like, I get all of the amenities of living close to the city, but to your point, but like, I feel like it's a little bit more rural, even though it kind of isn't anymore.
yeah, I think it feels very rural there. But how big is it going to get? It's just going to become, to me, it's just going to become like a whole one piece. Like
We're going to turn into like
Greenwood.
Houston, where
Yeah.
like we have another loop, right?
Yep.
And it's like Fortville Pike. Like, my understanding is like there's supposed to be like the 50-year plan is, right? Like, there will be another loop like 465, and it's like Fortville Pike is supposed to be it on the east side, and like Houston has 2 loops. I think it's Houston, Dallas, Houston, one of those. Anyways, and they have like 2 loops like 465 because it just kept growing.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that around here, but like, that's the reality of where this goes. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, a lot of
Density.
the comments you see on social media is, I moved here to be out of this, and like, well, I don't know how far.
so did
we're-
everybody else.
I know. I don't know how far we're going to have to move for it not to encompass right where you move to get away from everything.
Rushville.
I don't know. Like,
You never know where like a distribution warehouse like is going
Yeah,
to get
just
set
plops
up.
down.
I had a friend that bought 5 acres out in the country, and literally there's like a 200-acre development right now, and it's all big commercial buildings. And
Oh, dude, I'm
he's
by
so
McCordsville
pissed,
on
obviously,
Mount
but-
Comfort, man. I mean, that's where they put the Amazon. That's where they put
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Walmart has a 1 million square foot facility out there.
Yep.
It is monstrous. And you would never even really know when you pass by it because it's more long than it is anything. And they did it very, very well. But I never even pay attention to it. But like the other day, I was leaving really, really early. And I think it was, it was like 5:30 or something. And it was right when like third shift got off. And like Mount Comfort was packed, and I was like, "Where is this coming from?"
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh, that's right. We're right next to Walmart." So,
well, I know when you're, being in real estate, when you're showing houses and something behind it is completely empty, a field or something, the question is, what's going to happen there? I'm like, I could never guarantee, but commercial could be one of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And you need to be very careful if you're going to choose a house that's
know
has all
thy
this.
neighbor.
Yeah,
because
no.
literally, like when we bought this house, the neighbor said we're not selling, but they got an offer that was too great to
Well,
refuse,
yeah.
and that changes everything. So
But for an agent, we all need to be very careful. And if that plan is already made, if you don't check the what's going on, the permits that are pulled or anything, you can be in trouble, because I know some people get very angry that plops up behind them. And if that was known when they bought it, I mean, you as an agent need to be very vigilant. And the one thing that just always reminds me of that is I moved to Carmel about 35 years ago, and Hazeldale was just a little 2-lane road. And all of a sudden, it's the 4-lane with the big median, and all those houses, they were backing up to a road. We know there's going to be a road there. It's there. But to see it come through as it is now, to me, that was a shock. And then becoming in real estate, I was like, oh, that was a big deal. Could you imagine all of a sudden you've got that in your backyard?
Well, and that's one of the things, too. Like, I purchased a home, this is probably 12 years ago. We got a survey done. It was a bank-owned home, so obviously they didn't know anything that was coming. But there was 15 feet of my front yard that was already to the city, because eventually they're going to widen it. So I had a big front yard, and then today there's not a big front yard on that house. But wouldn't have known unless with the survey. They do that so far in advance when they're doing those road widening projects. And,
Or even over by where you live, you've got that gas line that goes through there too. You know, that nobody really knows about unless you live in that neighborhood.
And you can't do anything around it. Yeah.
Well, those are funny when you see those in neighborhoods, because
this one's buried.
Big,
they did a
wide
good
swaths,
job on it.
you know, between the houses, big wide, you know, like a football field, but much longer.
I think if you're within 30 minutes of downtown, maybe 40, and it's more than 7 acres, and it's farmland, it will be
developed at some point. Yep.
If it's more than like 10, it's potential for it to be commercial, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. That's where the city's going.
Well, it is hard. Like I get back to what I said was everybody is upset because they moved somewhere to get away from all of this, but you're going to have to pick up and move again and get much farther out because it's sprawling fast.
Or adjust, right? Because, you know, one of the things I'm sure you guys talk about this as well, is people are like, this is my dream home. The guy who does a lot of our inspections, he conveyed this a couple of years ago to one of my clients, and I was like, that's probably the best way I've ever heard it put. Like, you are the temporary owner of this house. Like, it will outlast you no matter what. It's like a classic car. You just want to be a good steward of it until it goes to the next person, because that is the reality of it. This will outlast you. And so, like, if you think about that, then, like, how many dream homes have you sold that, like, 7 years later, they're like, oh, we have a different dream now. And so, like, we need a different home. And so, like, I try to keep people away from that stuff a little bit, because it's not real. Like, there will always be another house. There will always be a change in life where, like, you need to move or something like that. Or, like, if you financially can't, then you have to adjust, because other people will be doing those moves as well. So, I don't know. I always struggle with that. We're like, we moved here because we wanted to be away. I'm like, cool, and you got that for 20 years, but, like, now that's not a thing anymore. And so you have to move again. Noblesville is going through that quite a bit right now.
Yeah, it's mentioned all the time. And the thing is that the anger towards the development is coming from what they themselves want or felt they moved here for is now going away.
But yeah, we have a need for housing. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. So.
And the value of their homes are going up when that happens.
Well, we're getting ready to get the taxes.
Yeah,
that's getting ready to go all over social media. My taxes went up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
It is.
Just maybe about a week from now.
I mean, people, they're like, they want to complain that their property taxes went up, but they don't want to complain that their home value went up.
You got to pay to play.
Well,
unfortunately,
they know. I mean, I understand some part of it is I'm not selling, so I'm not going to recognize that. But someday you will, you know. But it's
as somebody who just sold my parents' home, right? Like, that was a very weird feeling, you know, because they had lived in that since I was 8. And to, like, no, that's the last time I'm ever going in that house, and it's ours, and it's going to somebody else. Like, it was a thing. But, like, the past 10 years, like, deferred maintenance, you know, and it's nothing against my parents, you know what I mean? Like, they were just getting older. They don't really care. They're kind of like, I don't know. I mean, they'll go drop 10 G's on the best furnace in the world. You know, my dad bought a generator in case, like $5,000 on a generator in case, like, once or twice a year the power goes out.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes.
Yeah. But meanwhile, it's like, we'll let the deck go because we don't use it. And I'm like, well, like, it's a thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Somebody needs to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, but that's what happens with a lot of these houses is it's like, I love when we show these houses actually where, like, all the mechanicals, like, are just to the nines because people know what matters in a house.
Yep.
But yet then there's like deferred maintenance, like it hasn't been painted since like '05.
Yep.
Because like it's a fortress of a house that just needs some aesthetics. Like I love showing those houses to my clients because it's like, this house is perfect. You're not going to really need anything except for a paintbrush and some imagination.
Lipstick makeover, call it a day.
Yeah. New carpet, new flooring, whatever, because like you're not going to, like they put the new roof on, they did dimensional shingles or
Triple pane windows.
It is
triple pane
true.
windows
Yeah,
because like
is
it was a
true.
little drafty and they didn't like,
Yeah.
you know, they're on fixed income, right? Because they're on Social Security and they're like, I don't like that. My monthly, you know, heating bill is too much. So then like, yeah, they drop 40 G's on windows, right?
You know, like you'll never get this.
But
money
that
back.
carpet's from, you know, orange from the 70s. It's
Little
still
shag.
there. Yeah, but it's so true. I am literally working with a client right now who she's been looking in the price point of up to about $350 in Washington Township, and we're dealing with that, like deferred maintenance on the house, but yet a lot of the mechanicals and roofs and everything's done. But she's still kind of, you know, not happy with the fact that
Because there's not that frothy emotional appeal when you walk in, right?
But the thing is she's thinking, I'm spending $350, and she hasn't purchased in. I go, and we all just talked about this, but that was like $150 4 years ago. So you're looking at a $150,000 house with a rapid increase of value. So it's hard to explain, but you are looking at $350, but you're really not. If we all want to look at what we're used to or thinking that we used to see, and she hasn't bought, if that makes sense. So when you think of that, where, you know, what price point? And she was asking, well, what price point do I need to get where they're in really good condition? And I'm like, well, you're looking at the $350 house, so that would be like 5 or 6. If you think 350 is what you think a 350 house is, that's 5 or 6 today.
Or change location.
Change locations.
Change
Yep.
location.
Yeah,
That's the other
so-
option. Go to Sheridan.
Right.
Turnkey, done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could do that all day for $350 up there. But the problem that makes that hard to digest is, you know, a lot of these people, they haven't moved, so they refied or whatever, and so they're paying like nothing and interest rates, and you're like, wait, so I'm going up in value and like
Getting less
quality,
getting less-
and my mortgage payment is 3 times as much.
And
So,
less
like,
square
I get it.
footage and less
What do they call
land.
that? The golden handcuffs. Like right
Yeah.
now, it's everybody. Like,
Yeah.
who wants to sell to pay double?
Well, and I was saying my phone has rang the past couple of weeks with buyers reaching out and saying, we've given up on waiting for the rates. We need to find a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that's where our market is right now. Why it's picking up so much is that's a lot of mentality right now is
Yeah.
forget waiting. We can't, because the prices are continually going up. We've always said yesterday was the best day to buy. But I'm seeing the multiple offers, and these houses are going up in price. And so their price now is what the new appraisal is for the next house that hits the market in like 3 or 4 months. So the houses are going up again with these multiple offers. Yesterday was the best time to buy, so quit waiting on the rates. But
Yep.
Well, and
that's
like
where we
what
are.
Justin was saying, like that's going to impact new construction, which means there's going to be more availability with resale than new construction, which means competitive offers, right? Because there's more people focused on one subset of the market, and it's just going to drive up price because people buy for the most part out of necessity, not out of luxury. Like we did have 2 years where people bought out of luxury, right? Because like rates are down and I can afford more, but like that's gone. People are back to buying because they need to, right? And if you need to, like at a certain point, people become desperate, and I can't. Like I always tell people, and I've talked about this on here, I can for sure get you in the top 3 in an offer situation. I can never predict somebody's desperation.
Yeah.
I just can't.
correct, yeah.
If somebody wants to pay 50 G's over for this one, like they can.
You
have
can't
it.
compete. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just happens.
Just
Yeah.
because
And how do I know what number to
who
create?
knows what.
Right?
Like you had you said, you know, dad lives next door and they must take care of dad. Now they don't have to drive 30 minutes to take care of dad. I need that house. That'll help my family so much.
Yeah.
What are they willing to pull out of their 401k? Just give me that house.
Mm-hmm.
But that becomes a new comp.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, that's
And then the
just
next one that
interesting.
gets priced off of it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I have one that I'm getting ready to list this week, and one of the comps was bought when the market was down, and I was like, we have all these comps that do really well, and then there's this one comp that sold over the winter, and it like set for like 140 days, and like I know the people who bought it and everything, like they did really good on this property, and it now absolutely hurts me to comp for this house to sell. And I was like, dang it. So they did really well, but it hurts him on his pricing now all of a sudden a little bit.
I have one going in Carmel that's currently pending, and the neighborhood's going to love their new comp.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're just going to go, And the conversation I had with an agent who was getting ready to list one was totally different by the time we pinned it. And I called her and I go, you might want to this one's coming.
Yeah.
So
it's hard though, because like I think there are agents who are timid to price right now because of what we just came out of over the past 6 months. And like if you didn't price perfectly, you sat, right? But like days on market, like I'll go over mine real quick. Like holy crap, have they come down, right? So like Fisher's average days on market 25, median 10. Noblesville average days on market 19, median 5. And like when I look back, like because we didn't do it last week, like if I start going back like 3 weeks and stuff, I mean we're up in the 50s. And we're just weeding out that stale inventory, and like now it's a better reflection of what we started saying was happening like that week around. It was like the weekend of Valentine's Day, right? So like the weekend of like we had Valentine's Day, you got married, I buried my mom, like all that stuff. That's when we really saw it pick up. I just remember it like very specifically. And now all of that stuff is closing and reflecting. And so like our days on market is just like not even cut in half. Like it is significantly more.
when I looked at my stats today, I was like, wow, the amount of pendings. Well, the amount of activity of what got listed too was something else. A lot of inventory hit the market for me. But
that'll die off, I think, on the north side over the next couple of weeks just because of spring breaks, right?
well, we have April spring break. We were saying we're going to do that. We're going to figure out when all the cities are, because you can guarantee that'll happen. May, it's race month. It's not a month anymore as it used to be, but those 2 weeks of May with the race, we're getting
Family
ready to.
time,
we're really
holidays.
getting into some
You
things
got
that'll
high school
cause
and
trouble.
college graduations.
Oh, the graduations slow way down too. So April and May can be a little bit of a downtrodden,
So somebody sent me a stat. I saw it. Man, I meant to send it to you. And like our highest volume was June last year, which I actually found a little bit interesting, but it tracked, right? But for Indianapolis in particular was June, which makes sense based off of schools and all that other stuff. But you were talking about May. I was just random thought. Have you ever done the mini?
No.
Have you done the mini?
No.
No.
All right, have you? Or
I did it last year.
Oh, that's right. Are you doing it again?
I don't know. I was supposed to. I mean, my dad did it twice with one leg.
Oh.
So like, I feel like, yeah, I'm a big piece of crap. That's why I did it last year, is like to honor him. But now it's like I have to do it another time, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do it this year though.
But did you die?
I did not. I did not. And it's really not that bad. It's a really cool event. You should do it. I walked it.
You walked it? Yeah, I can't
I
run
like
it.
sped walk it, but
I'm not running it.
you could walk
I know a lot
it.
of
It's
people,
a fun event.
It's
dude.
a fun event. I've gone to it. I had a friend that was running it, and I've gone to it. I mean, it's just a big party afterwards, before everybody rooting everybody on. It's fun to be just down there and being a part of it.
I think everybody thinks like, oh, it'd be cool to go like walk on the track. I kind of thought it like it was cool for about 10 minutes, and then you're like,
Walk
Yeah.
over this embankment,
Yeah, dude.
like, let me go to the bottom.
2.5 miles of like the same scenery.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, okay. Can
These
I get
laps
off?
take so much longer when you're walking.
Yeah.
And it's just like, forever in front of you, and you're like, and that's where I'm going. But like when you're doing it in the streets, like it's constant like stimulation of change of scenery.
Yeah.
So you should do it. You should do it.
It's coming up too soon.
Oh,
I have to try next year.
we got trained for it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What about electric wheelchairs? Could we use one of those?
I think there's a class for that.
Is there?
There's a class for
Because
that.
that'd be a nice way to do it. Like, not
What about-
being in a wheelchair, but just being comfortable and on wheels.
What about a scooter?
Scooter would be lovely.
I don't know that they would allow scooters. That's
They
like
wouldn't.
that's like the Monon. You
Yeah.
can't have anything like that. People are running and walking.
We have a walk coming up for Realtor Foundation. You guys should do in Crown Hill Cemetery.
Around the cemetery. Mm-hmm. Well, I would stop and look at all the graves. That's kind of interesting, especially Crown Hill.
So I can sign you up for it.
To see when is it?
I'll get you all the details.
Yeah, I
Well,
might
tell
be
everybody.
interested in that, too.
Let everybody
I can
know
do
what
that.
it is.
I
That
can
might
do
be
that.
interesting because even the one here by the Dairy Queen in Carmel, Those are some old graves. It's amazing. They're like the early 1800s and stuff.
Out by where I live, I always find it's interesting, where there's those tiny cemeteries.
Like family plots.
Yeah. Like there's one on Pendleton Pike, like by the Bob Evans, and you're like,
how is that still?
How is it still here, dude?
Yeah.
So out by where I live, like there's a bunch of like little family plots, or there's the one that's
Sunnyside on Fox Road. There's like that one little one right there.
Yeah. Or like there's the one that's actually decent size. That's like right by Hamilton proper, where on like I think it's Lantern, where it like it has that little S, and you're like, how's this not developed? But I get it. Like, well, they do move them sometimes.
Well, I know.
They 100% move
That's
them.
horrible. But you know the joke though, when people were talking about what might be behind you or whatever. That is right there, right? But they're quiet neighbors.
Quiet neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I always say.
I sold one across the street from Crown Hill when I was newer. It was
Crown Hill's.
I'm gonna be
very
cremated and shot out of a potato gun. That's what I've decided. In Hawaii, I'm gonna be shot into the ocean by a potato gun.
I like it. The potato
Okay.
gun is an interesting discharge. Hopefully,
I want to
you
make
guys
sure
are
I get
down-
out.
They're downwind.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Not
the
like
first
Big
thing I
Lebowski.
thought of.
Shoot it and it blows back on land. Like
first
that's not
thing
where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
That's a them problem, not a me problem. No.
So let's get back to
Anyways.
Justin being here
Yeah.
with
Yep.
us. Tell us what you're seeing in the commercial world here in our area.
The commercial stuff that I'm doing, like industrial, land development, multifamily, that has been pretty good like this whole time. But again, like with the tariffs coming out, it's uncertain. Like nobody wants to put millions of dollars out for a project that could get scratched. There might be no profit on it. Kind of like with our builders right now. So most of the builders, like when they build residential homes, they're doing 20%. That's where you want to be at. But then if you're buying rates, they're saying that's down 15%. Like, so if you're taking 15% of the money to buy rates down for concessions, and then you're going to get higher build costs, then the prices are either going to go up or they're going to stop building unless there's the demand for it. So I know there are specific areas that constantly sell, and you get a new neighborhood and you're like, oh, they sold 300 homes in a year. Like, fantastic. It's
Out by me, they're doing a bunch. I know there's some developments and stuff, and I think
that's most of
Westfield
what
is
I've
the
been
same way.
selling lately too, is new construction. I mean, it's like you can get a rate of 5%. You're like, hey, I will live another town away if it's going to save me $600, $700 a month, whatever it is.
So do you think any of these that are already in the middle of building?
They'll finish those out because they already have that capital expenditure put out. They already have their numbers. They already have the materials in. They're just installing it. So there's not going to be any kind of crazy labor pricing that goes up while they're in the middle of that construction. So those projects will finish. I know like the Samsung Gigafactory up in Kokomo, and I just know about this because we do a lot of work up in Kokomo right now, but they are kind of like scratching that second Gigafactory. There's the demand. Now you have less jobs coming into Kokomo that they were kind of counting on to get in there. So there's just so much uncertainty. And it's like if we had like a stable market right now, I think you could forecast the future. People would be comfortable putting those millions of dollars out for those projects. But right now it's like that's where it's a little dicey.
And they struggled to keep up with housing just off the first one.
Exactly. So, and if this happens like COVID, where everybody pulled back during COVID building houses, then you're going to end up with a shortage. And then you'll see those existing homes go up if people are selling.
Yep.
Well, Kokomo's another one of those towns that is growing rapidly.
Oh, yeah.
And the 31 highway that goes down to India or whatever is very easy.
And you can
drive.
find homes in Kokomo. If you want to live in Kokomo,
Kokomo.
$30,000. You can have a house like 700, 800,
I think
1,000
that's
square feet.
the next place for investors to be buying, is my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just the next area.
Yeah, as long as they land some big companies coming in and adds to that, that population, that workforce, I think it would absolutely blow up. But they're going to need those companies to keep coming in. And
There's some really nice houses in Anderson too. They have a nice golf course. Like I've got friends that live up there. I have a team member that used to be a team member that he lives up there. Like I like Kokomo a lot. I like Anderson a lot. I really do. Anderson's closer, but Anderson's infrastructure is a little lackluster. I think they need to clean some of that up. But they have a private college. Like it's like. I always think Anderson is like if you guys have been to Franklin and what Franklin has turned into, which is
I love
just
Franklin.
Oh, it's the cutest town in the world. I don't see why Anderson isn't like that in the next decade, right? Because Franklin's got a small private college. So does Anderson.
those big historic houses
the-
downtown.
Yeah.
That whole
I love
area
that.
is so
Yeah.
cool. And the Art Craft Theater.
It's just weird because whoever was the city planner 40 years ago, like I've got an old 100-year-old historic home, next to some house that somehow got approved to have 4 additions on it that are like just janky as all get out. And you're like, what is going on here? So that they got to have to figure that kind of stuff out. But yeah, I mean, all of that stuff. Where else are you going to get affordable housing anymore? I mean, I get it. Like, nobody's happy about it. I can't change it. None of us can change it. I don't know how to change it. Outside of a massive economic collapse, which means you won't be able to afford your current house either, though. Yeah. So
I did hear like some hedge funds have been like unloading some of their properties, and when they put them on the market, it might be like $30,000-$50,000 priced under all of the other homes just to get out of it. But then if you get that, like that might affect your comps too. Like if someone sees that one low sale, so you have to know who was selling it, know the little backstory when you are doing those comps, because if it was like a corporate entity, they're okay taking that because they've taken a profit for the last 5 years. So that little $30,000 hit is still.
I can usually tell that stuff just by looking at who listed it.
Exactly. And the finishes on the house. Like if something's been renovated and it looks like shit.
Yeah.
It's like someone cut corners and they're just trying to make a profit. And
there's a company that I just, I
had a very similar experience with the same company, and looks good in pictures.
Lipstick on a pig looks good kind of when you show up, but you know what's going to happen during inspections, and that frustrates me. And then they don't do anything
on the inspection.
They
just
don't.
Change the price.
Zero.
No. Well, yeah, the price by. What part of that I don't like is they're getting away with it. And the thing about it is that we have people who need to buy a house, so they have health and safety issues that are not going to rear their ugly head. When you get the inspection and you show that exists, and they still say it's up to you, I think it's a consumer issue that we shouldn't be dealing with. But that's
and then also you're letting them know the major issues that are wrong with the house. And I have had a house that we mutually released. And they relisted it, did not disclose any of the problems that they now know of, and they're just going to sell it to the next person. And they're going to do the exact same thing, and then that's going to spend another 30 days between inspections and appraisals, and then you still can't come to terms. And the money that they put out,
and they may mutual release, because the amount of money that they have to do for their inspections is not fair to, maybe it's their first-time home buyer that's just getting hosed.
Yep.
But the thing about non-disclosure after they've already been told anything, why is one type of sale exempt from that? Because they say they don't have to do seller's disclosures. But I still think that doesn't matter if you're going to handwrite on the seller's disclosures what's wrong. You still have to disclose.
Yep.
State of Indiana, you have to do a seller's disclosure unless it is an estate sale, foreclosure, and new construction. That's just the facts of it. So if they're saying they can't, like, they're lying, because like those are the 3 ways that you don't have a seller's disclosure in the state of Indiana.
My part about that is supposedly they were just in every nook and cranny doing all their lipstick on a pig. They've seen it, but the estate thing too. You should know. Is it on septic or sewer? You should know if it's a private road versus a city. All of that. There are questions you can answer that are still important to the buyer, and they don't even fill those out. That's where I
did
don't
an estate sale, and I was in that stupid house for a year, cleaning it out, going through, I don't know, heirlooms and all like unless it's just sold with the crap in it, somebody's been in it. Like, that's the reality.
Correct.
I mean, you know something about it, right? Like, did I ever turn the stove on? No.
But could you have?
Yeah, I could have. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
I want to disclose it. I don't want to. I'm just the biggest thing about not showing up 2 weeks later into the big whole thing we deal with inspections.
Yeah.
I want to disclose as much as I know, and I know I can find out a lot of things. And somebody's going to really want to know if it's on well or municipal water. You know that.
For sure.
I mean, all of those. There's a lot of questions on there you can answer. Here's another easy one. I'm sorry, but when you say that on the seller's disclosures, these people lived there for 20 years and they say they don't know how old the roof is, I have a hard time believing that. But the second part of it is it's so easy to look up the last listing and see what the seller's disclosure said.
Yep.
As long as there's a previous seller's disclosure, for sure. I've done that before. I've had to look it up. I've also had like 2 back-to-back listings where like everybody says they don't know, and you're like, oh, great. But and like you can tell it was changed in there, and you're like, I don't know how old this thing is. But I actually struggle more with flippers than like these institutional people, because I know what I get with them. Like, I'm getting flooring, I'm getting paint, and like to your point, like if we find something, like they're gonna adjust the price. I struggle with flippers who are hiding shit. right? Like
that they know of.
They know of it and they hide it. I actually have a much bigger problem with that kind of a seller than I do with like the institutional, because they're like, here's what it is, let the market dictate it. And when I see flippers, they price it up, like that's what I see, because they want an ROI. I get it. I understand the business model. It's not that deep. And I see stuff hidden. I just do all the time. And like that really just
or like a freshly painted flipped home and there's like yellow stain on the ceiling. You're like, so did you not fix the stain or the leak that was up there?
Right.
And no, we're just going to keep slapping paint on it. And it's like, that's disgusting to me.
The thing about it is, with a flipper or for the other institutionals that buy them and clean them up, supposedly, they had contractors doing the electrical. The electrician who was working on all of those things obviously didn't voice what he saw, or he didn't finish what he should have. But if I do a flip, which I do an inspection when I'm done.
Same.
To still figure out what might be there, or what wasn't done wrong.
What's going to come up.
When you don't want to be looked at like you were not disclosing something or you were being dishonest. So it's like you do take that extra step that I wish corporations would take. I mean,
it's part of the flip.
Yep.
You're trying to, supposedly, I think a flip is to get the house in a better condition than it was, not halfway.
Yep.
Not for everybody, though.
I know, it's not.
Not for everybody.
And so I kind of have a hard time figuring out these disclosures. So I don't know. And I really do want to ask somebody, if anybody with my board or anything, I really want to know why they don't have to disclose once they've been told, even though, they should be filling it out. But if they are in the position that they don't have to fill out seller's disclosures, that they can physically start all over with another buyer and not disclose everything they were just told. This one has
They
a
do,
broken
but it's a
sewer line.
self-reporting system, so we have to turn it in, and then it's not the institution that's getting hit, it's the agent or the brokerage that is getting hit, and the agent or the brokerage should be like, I won't list it unless we do this. Like, that's the
Correct.
hard part. And they'll just go find a different agent or
Yes.
brokerage who will be like, whatever, I'll do it.
Well, and I told my buyer, she's really upset about it. This is where it's kind of got me fired up. Everything she said as it pertained to her, and I was like, you are right. When that pins again, guess who I'm calling? The buyer's agent. They need to know. If I have to be the one that fixes the whole process, I will. But I will.
We dealt with one last year that was aluminum wiring, and like it's a well-known building here in Carmel that has.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
only
the one.
one.
Yeah.
It's only one in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's got aluminum wiring, and it wasn't disclosed. And we're like, hey, like, you need to disclose this. And they're like, no, we don't. And we're like, yes, you do. And then, like, so we walked, and then, like, guess what they did? They went back on the market, did not disclose it, right? Like, but for us at a certain point, we're just like, we're out of it. Like, whatever, this is,
If you're pushing back on this, what else are you going to push back on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that building is very hard to sell. If we're talking about the same one.
I'm sure we are.
But the thing is,
one that's in Carmel.
yeah. Well, and I learned a lot about it because I actually had that one for one of those for sale. And the part of it is that I learned a lot about what aluminum wiring is, and agents should really kind of figure out what that is. If you have a house built in 1972, you need to probably plan on it being aluminum wiring, because that's when they did it for a very short time.
Yeah, they did it
At
for a
least
couple
look
years.
into it yourself before you make the offer.
So aluminum wiring, like we can run through it real quick. But so basically, it was used for a period of time in the early 70s. I think it's like 72 to 76, something like that. This like small window, and the problem is that they found that it expands and contracts with temperature, with heat, right? And so there was this possibility that it would contract and it would pull out of its fitting, which then obviously makes it it could arc, which is a fire risk, right? And so like that's the problem with it. Now the interesting thing about it is, if it was going to happen, it probably would have happened by now. We're talking 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the reality of it. But but to rewire it, that is far from cheap. And then the biggest problem you're going to have is there are insurance companies who will not insure you if you have aluminum wiring, right? And so then what do you do? Where I've ran into this issue with like in Indy, where our unit was updated, but the whole complex was not updated.
Right.
And so, but like it got
The building
insured, and I'm
burns.
like, but like both units to the sides of us could just burn down tomorrow. So it's just a really odd one. And like to your point, like you do need to know about it and know what kind of risks there are and stuff like that. The costs involved with fixing it, even if you fix it, like doesn't matter if the people next to you fix it. I mean, it's just a whole thing. But the biggest issue I run into outside of like the fire risk, which is up to everybody's personal preference, but No.
whether or not you want your house to burn.
Well, but that's a projection in the first place. Like
Right.
it couldn't. Like it could have burnt
I
down 10
wouldn't.
years
You
ago.
know what?
but
I don't even want a 1% chance that my house could burn.
I think that's a pretty
And
fair
buy it on purpose.
argument. That's a hard argument to have. But
I don't.
but you can't even get insured.
Right.
And so, like, if you can't get insured, then you're not going to be able to get a loan on it, because to get a loan on it, you're going to have insurance, right? And so then it just falls apart. So.
And a lot of agents don't understand why there's a time limit on that insurance part where it says you will get your commitment
7 or
letter.
10 days. I usually do 7 or
I do 7 or 10. But the reason is for this very reason. You get to the end, you're 30 days in, and you're closing tomorrow, and the insurance company finally called today, said, oh, it can't be insured.
Yep.
You can't close. And so that's the reason that number is on there. I get people who send me a purchase agreement, say 30 days, and we're closing in 29. I'm like, we can't close if you don't get insurance on this property. Not that I'm saying, I know we have a problem.
Yeah.
But what if we do? Like, it's a short time period for a reason. And I've had a lot of people go, when I say that 30, I'll switch it back, and they go, why are you changing that on me? I'm like, because I want to close.
I had one recently.
My seller doesn't want to pack and leave. Not have a house to sell.
I had one lately. We go back to this roof thing where we didn't know the age of the roof, right? We were the seller, and like the buyer's like, we can't get insurance because we don't know the age of the roof. But like I could look back and be like, it was listed, so we didn't know off the people we bought it from, but I can tell when I look back to the listing prior to that 7 years ago, you know what I mean? That like, okay, whatever, it's at least.
Just do math.
Yeah, I'm like, it's somewhere in this ballpark, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's like saying you don't know whatsoever, but like, all right, so like err on the side of like, it's a 25-year-old roof. Like we ended up it had some hail damage and we put a new roof on it anyways, but I was just like we have an idea that it's at least 15 years old, right?
Yep.
Or whatever it may be. Like,
I want to know why you can't remember you put a roof on your house. Like you did or you didn't. I've been here 20 years, and I don't know how the roof is. You can say 20 plus.
But you're not really supposed to do that, right? So like if you asked my parents when they put the roof on, when they were 75, when they passed away, they'd be like, I don't know, 8 years ago, 12 years ago.
And it's 18 years.
Yeah, and it's 18, like,
right.
'cause, like time is, and so like technically per the seller's disclosure, I'm not supposed to guess, right? Like that's the rule on a seller's. If you have to guess, you put do not know. But now there is an area where I should put, I don't know, 18 to 15, right? Or something like that.
Well, if you've lived, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you've lived there 10 years, I hope your memory is, we did not put a roof on since we've lived here, or we did.
Yeah.
Like, you can remember if you did that. That's a pretty major thing you have to deal with. I mean, they're all over your yard and everything. That, I digress. I'm not going to complain about seller's disclosures all day, but that's just one thing that is.
It's a thing.
Thing I've been dealing with the past couple of weeks, I should say.
It's a thing. So, dude, I do think, I know we're going to wrap it up or whatever, but since the market has gotten busy since mid-February, I will say I've dealt with some of the more complex inspection responses that I've dealt with in 2 years.
Tell me.
And the best part is like I finally have gotten back to where sellers and buyers are agreeable, right? Because it was sellers wouldn't do anything because it was so competitive.
Buyers
and then
take it
buyers,
as is.
Yeah, and then buyers got shitty, and they're like we want everything because we never got anything for a couple of years. And I do feel like I've had some very successful, complex inspection responses that everybody was just kind of like, yep, this works. Like, this is a heavy lift, but there's this and this. And like, everybody was just like, oh my gosh, calm.
It
You know
does
what I mean?
depend on the agents, too. Because
I wasn't involved in all
Communication
of them.
is so amazing.
Yes,
it's
it
so
is.
amazing. Like, if you have a problem, call the agent. Like, get them on the phone immediately and just like, hey, we're not trying to like screw you guys over. Like, this is exactly what it is. This is a number we think that's like a little less than what it said. Like you're trying to meet in the middle just to make something happen. If they see that you're being proactive, I just did a commercial deal on some vacant land that was listed at a price. We found out that a corner of it was in the flood zone. It's not really going to affect the building at all, but we got 30% off. And they were just ready to move it. So it was like, it all worked out. But it was because of the communication, because I like called her immediately. I explained what we had found. She's like, I didn't know that. Called the owner. And then like within a day, we had an accepted offer. So it was like, we were within 1% of the list price originally. And then we got 30% off. So it's
wow.
Yeah.
big difference. And I'm not saying that happens all the time. It absolutely does
Correct,
not.
yeah.
But communication matters, man.
Yep.
Communication matters. We talk about that a lot. We've talked about that for 4 years since we started doing the podcast before, Talking to other agents matter. All right, I'll do my stats real quick just to run through them. In Fishers last week, I had 24 go on the market, anywhere from 229 to basically 2 million. 19 are still active, so only 5 pended in a week, but 22 total pended, so we didn't pick up much inventory. 139, I rounded up. 139 are on the market. 25 days average days on market, 10 median. Noblesville, I had anywhere from 224 to 1.125. 32 went on the market. 18 are still active. 14 pended. 26 total pended. So I picked up some in Noblesville, but 19 days on market, 5 median. I mean, those are just stupid low numbers from where we were in December. Like we were like north of 60.
Yeah, you had some 90s in there.
Yep.
So I remember that was just like, oh, what is happening? But right back to spring market.
Yep.
So in Carmel, 45 hit the market this past 7 days, and 43 total pended, but 28 of those ones that hit the market did pend. Average days on market were 24, and the median was 4. So houses are selling very quickly in Carmel now. There were 68 sold in the past 30 days and 99.5% list to sale ratio for the past 30 days. And in 30 days, it was 33 average and 5 median. So it's staying the same. We've settled down to the 4 to 5 median days on market. So if you're a buyer and you want to see a house, I wouldn't wait till tomorrow. And you need to know you're going to be probably in a multiple offer situation. Again, currently active in Carmel's 110, anywhere from 200 to 5 million. The thing I did, I broke down for the actives that sold. So all of the ones for the past 7 days what activated, there were 2 under 300, 5 under 400, 12 under 500, and 5 under 600, and 3, and then 2 as it continues up. So we always say this, in a price point, everything's totally different. So buyers, if you're in the under $500,000 range, which would be $400,000, anywhere in that middle, between 4 and 5, you've got a lot of competition out there because they sell quickly, and that's, like I said, 12 sold last 7 days. So know if you're in a certain price point, it's going to be a lot different for you. But even at, over $1 million, 4 listed. So it's weird, different towns will be different. Westfield, 62 hit the market. 16 of those pended with a total of 35 pending. And the price point that it was really heavy in was 300 to 500. 200 are on the market now. Always say that's a lot of new builds. 138 sold in the past 30 days with a 99% list to sale ratio. Average days on market were 47 and 27 median. In Zionsville, 10 hit the market. 4 of those pended out of those 10, but a total of 9. So not much inventory there, just 1. Active on the market, 51. And in the past 30 days, 29 sold, 99% list to sale ratio in the median price point. And then 29 average and 8-day median on list or days on market. So, yeah, days on market are down. So.
What do you see for commercial days on market? Because remember, we went through a massive period where retail commercial was just dying on the vine. Yeah. And then I've seen an uptick in it. But where would you say, do you think industrial is performing well, retail?
Industrial is always performing well. That's one of the most prized possessions. You can do a lot with the property. Office space has been pretty flat. From what I've seen, I don't do a lot of the office space. Retail-wise is standard. I mean, it's not really up or down. It seems to just be steady right now. Yeah.
Is Carmel, do they have more of a, glut in retail? Because I seem to see a lot of retail signs in the windows.
I mean, I think we're going to probably start seeing a lot more retail signs. And I'm not trying to doom and gloom with the tariffs and stuff like that. It affects small businesses. If you're buying stuff from China or wherever, and then you got to pay that, I mean, it's you're adding to your cost. If you're already slow in sales because it's not been a great economy, for personal spending, I guess. That's, you're going to see shops close, and I do think that you will see some shops pop open, and unfortunately, it's just how it is. I know there's a lot in the commercial space right now too, as the rates are high, or they're low, but what they're going to have to do is refinance. A lot of those businesses are 20, 25-year mortgages, and they got those good rates too back then, and now it's if you have a rate of 4% on a commercial property, and now you're going to 8%. Yeah. Your tenants are going to have to pay that difference, or you're going to lose it. You know what I mean? It really just depends. But
I've always wanted to own a commercial building. Man, it's
multi-tenant commercial would be the best,
It is.
safest thing to do. You're kind of spreading it out, making sure you have good tenants in there. You want people.
But
that
you got to find
stay.
good tenants. You got to have a good
tenants.
anchor, right? And so like that takes effort, you know. Or you own like a medical building, but even medical, like you remember, there's we're off on a tangent now, but like there was a massive medical building. I want to say on Benford. That's a church. And how long was that thing vacant?
Oh yeah,
7 years maybe. 6?
After it was done, I think it was closed within a year or two. Like it was.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
A bad. I mean, it was like a minute clinic kind of thing originally, or
Yeah, it was a big clinic. I mean,
When you were saying that apartments are slowing down or putting them on hold, I just love to see the old buildings now. I just like maybe that'll turn everybody towards
repurposing
for repurposing like the old high schools. I know Shortridge was supposed to be something done with it, but those old buildings in Indianapolis can be something
Stens
really
building.
cool.
Especially if they're if they're industrial too. Like I mean, if you get rezoned or the office buildings, I like when people take those old office buildings and then make those like a nice little community. And
I know it's a lot of work inside, but maybe. And
Have
I
you
hate
been to the Stens building downtown?
Stens?
Yeah.
Stutz.
Stutz. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I got a
I
buddy. We have a buddy whose last name is Stens. The Stutz building downtown.
I love the Stutz building.
I
Yes.
absolutely love it. There's so much upstairs that you don't even know. Omni. I've had to go to Omni Property Management. They have a location in there. There's like all these art places in the second and third floors. And then Julietta's Tacos is like quite possibly the best tacos in the
Is that
city.
your taco place you always talk about?
It's one of them.
Okay.
Paco's
Did you give out your magnet?
Paco's is good. No, we're still working on our
Okay.
magnet. Paco's, Chris's ice cream is money.
People always tell me about Chris's is right by my house, but it's like
Dude.
I
I've
can
walked
picture
in
the
there to
emblem.
get ice cream and I smelled Mexican, and then if I go to get Mexican, I smell ice cream, and my mind doesn't let me.
Dude, it should be called
Wrap my head around
Chris's Tacos, plus we got some ice cream.
Yeah.
Like, their tacos are that good.
Huh.
It's amazing. If you go to just Taco Time down here on Rangeline, money. Best homemade hard shell tacos, because most places don't even have hard shells.
Yeah.
Absolutely money. But if you get the chorizo, you're going to take a nap afterwards because there's just some salt in that boy. But if we want to talk about tacos, we could do a whole podcast on tacos.
Yeah. What's that gas station on Main?
Yeah.
Their tacos are
Where
amazing.
Fat Dan's is?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have tacos there that everybody talks
I
about
was
as
just
well.
there yesterday. I didn't know they have tacos. But
If you go at lunchtime, that parking lot is packed at that gas
That's
station
where I was
for
there.
the tacos. It's insane.
oh, is that what it was? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, why is everybody here?
Inside the gas station, they're solid
tacos.
and good price.
Interesting.
Yep. All right. I don't know. We'll get back with you next week. We got Jeff coming on, right? For City
Yes,
View?
Cloyd.
Cloyd. Yep. All right.
Jeff Cloyd.
So I'm Kyle Morris with my Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. My number is 317-649-5122.
Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group, 317-201-2601.
And Justin Griffith with Keller Williams Indy Metro Northeast, 317-507-5599. Thanks for having me, guys. It was
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
have you back.
Yeah.
Have you back.